Just recording this. Alright, so this is for YouTube. Okay, hello everyone, and this is me trying to solve the assignment of week 4 for bootcamp from Monash. And just to quickly go through the assignment. So we have week 4 in the homework. And okay, so this is what we're doing. We will a time quiz on JavaScript that store the high score. Okay, so this is what we're doing. We're building a quiz, right, on using mostly JavaScript. Okay, so let's do it. So first of all, let's save this as index.html. So in a while. So my quiz. Alright, and I will run another version of this website so that you guys can see it. Review and Explorer. Alright, so this is our home page. So let's do a really quick thing, right? Because in the where is the task here? So in the task, we can see that there's a timer. So let's do the timer bit first. Right, so let's do that. So I'm gonna have a div. And actually before we do anything, let's go and do bootstrap. Like let's use bootstrap so that we can make our page look cooler. So CSS, JavaScript and everything. Right, cool. So let's do a quick one for timer. Alright, so let's write our JavaScript. Assets JS timer.js maybe. Alright, and in here we're gonna include a script to asset.js timer. Right. So let's do the timer bit. So in this timer, we're gonna do something very simple. We're gonna say we have 60 seconds, right? So seconds equals 60. We're gonna do just a countdown from 60 to 0. Timer container. Give me a sec. Okay, so timer. I'm gonna have a span here. Remaining seconds. Alright, so our second is 60, right? So in order to run it every 1 second, we're gonna do a set interval. And we have a function here, which is what it's gonna do every x second. And because we want to run every 1 second, we're gonna do this, right? So this function here gonna run every 1 second. So in here, I'm gonna have this as an ID for easy. So remaining second, right? So I'm gonna have const remaining second span equal document query selector of remaining second, right? So this is what I have. Then I'm gonna say remaining second span, and because we're doing a span, so we gotta do text contain to access whatever in here. So we do dot text contain equal seconds, right? And then we lower the second down, right? Because every second we want this to be 60, then 59, and 58, right? So that's what we want to do. Now let's save it and see whether it runs. So timer 60. Okay, it doesn't run. Assignment to constant variable. Okay, I'm doing it wrong. So this should not be const, it should be let. Alright, 60, 59, 58. Alright, yeah. Just again, remember that this is your your tool, your best tool when you're trying to deal with JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript, you will run into errors, you will run into bugs, and this will be where you're gonna do it. Let me just quickly, actually, we're gonna skip that for next part, but remember this like source, right? So right click, inspect, then source. This will be the very best tool that you can have to debug your JavaScript. So you got that. Cool. Now, what's the next part? So, because we're gonna have a navigation, right? Because the navigation will be this bit right here. That's gone. Okay, so we gotta have that bit right there. So let's create a navigation. Alright, and let's look like a row. I'm gonna have nav. I'm gonna have a diff show high score. Another diff here is for that. Show high score. Right, right. Let's create a bit of CSS in here. Right, so because this is not gonna be a lot about CSS, so I'm just gonna quickly do this so it look a bit nicer. Flex direction to be row. Justify content to be space between. There you go. So that will be our nav. Right. So we got that. Right. So that is our thing. Cool. Now let's do the second bit. Right. And a lot of people that I'm seeing having a bit of problem on how can you guys do like multiple page, right? So like you have this page, you have that page and everything. And in JavaScript, this is what we call a single page application. Meaning what? Meaning you never actually reload your page. Meaning what? Meaning if I'm saying on this one, right? If I click on project, this is actually reloading the whole page. And this is not actually that good because you're gonna see that this whole line, this whole navbar doesn't change. So what's the point of actually reloading your page? And single page application kind of override that. It uses Ajax, which is like which is sending an API to the server, then render the part that is actually changed, right? So in this case, you can see that that snapbar doesn't need to change at all, right? It doesn't need to change, only this bit change. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a very simple way of single page application. The terminology is just that. So if you want to Google it, you will learn a bit more about it. But it actually is just for you guys to understand what we're trying to do. It's actually a quite a cool thing that we're doing now in the industry now. Right. So again, we have an app, right? And if you look this closely, I would say let's start doing the quiz page, right? So we're gonna have what? We're gonna have the start page, the quiz page, then I think the done page, right? So three different page. Ignore the home, the high score for now, right? So I'm gonna create three different page. So I'm gonna have start page, I'm gonna have quit page, I'm gonna have a result page, right? And we're gonna do the bit like the high score page layer, right? So what's in this? I need a way to slow this thing down. Can I? Is there a way to run that? Can I pause this? No. Okay. Alright, let's do it our way then. Welcome to the quiz page. I will do some lorem-ism here. And I'm gonna do one paragraph. And we're gonna have the button, right? So button dot primary, and this is gonna be our start quiz, right? So this is our homepage. That's our button. Again, let's quickly make this look nicer. Right. Stop it. Okay. And the button. Is this block? No. Okay. So we're gonna have that. I know that we're gonna use this, so I'm just gonna put an ID in this. Start quiz button. Alright, so I got that. Alright, so let's do the word thing. Right, and in order to do that, I'm just gonna copy someone else quiz because it's actually a lot of things to put in. I'm just gonna quickly check out some of you guys' assignment submission. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Nope, 4. Okay, okay. Assignment get. Give me a sec, guys. 4. Question. Wow, what the hell? Didn't expect this to be this long. Alright, so let's quickly do this. So I copied this from someone else, and apparently it asked you to put this on another page. So let's do that. First question. But let me quickly show you something about JavaScript, right? So when you set a variable here, what does it mean? Like you set it here, you can use it here, right? It's totally fine. But how do you know if I'm on a separate page, like on a separate file, how can I use it? The question is you don't know. And let's test it out, right? So in here, it said I already set this question. I don't really need to know what's inside. Oh, you can click on this. It's gonna collapse it if you need to. On this one, I said I have a questions, right? I have a questions variable. So on here, let's console log it out. Right. And let's see what we get. So we're gonna have here is the question. And if you refresh the page right now, this is what you're gonna get. Look here, right? See how question is not defined? It's because I put that in. Alright, so if you do that, you say question is not defined. Why? If you type in here question now, you're gonna see that. But this thing is saying question is not defined. Why is that? The reason is because the HTML or JavaScript actually run from the top to the bottom, meaning it run through timer first, right? And when it run into timer, then it's starting to console log the question. And by the time it console log the question, it hasn't run to the questions file, meaning it hasn't declared the question, right? So what you guys should do is put this on here. And if you do that, if we go back, we should see that it's now totally declared, right? So remember that the order of which file you guys put in is actually important, because when you guys declare it on here, like something like this, it's not inside a function, right? So not inside some function. If you guys declare it here, then only this function can use. But if you guys declare on this is what we call global variable. Every other page afterward can use it, right? Remember, afterward, not like before, afterward only. Right. So we clear that out. And this is 22. Holy hell. Alright. So let's start. So we done the start page, right? Now let's do the quiz page. So the quiz page is very simple. We have what? We have, it doesn't have that. Let's say we have a number. Um, what's the current question? And actually, you know what's a cool thing to do? On Bootstrap, there is something called a progress bar, something like this. And what you can do is you can set the width, and it will go something like that. So let's try it out, right? So this is width. If you increase, see how it increases itself. So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna use a progress bar. So we can have a progress bar in there. Right? Then we're gonna have a question, because we need a question, right? For each of our question, we have a question, and then we have an answer. We have a choice. Okay, so question, and we have a choice container. The reason why I say question here with choice container here, I will explain later. And then we have a button to go to the next quiz. Sorry, so next. Alright, so that's it. So let's start. So let's ignore everything about pages and everything. I'm gonna rename this to main. Alright, I'm gonna change this back to main. So we just left it there, right? There's no point of changing it now. So what we want to do is we want to get the very first question and then render it inside of our quiz page, right? So let's get the first question. So this is an array, right? This is an array, and I know it because it's the row bracket, the start and ends that, right? So I want to only access the first element. So I'm gonna create my question is equal to questions at index 0, right? The first one only. And then I get the title, the choice, ignore the answer for now. Just gonna re-indent this real quick. Right. So I'm gonna have, let's create a function, right? I'm gonna create a function render quiz question, render question, right? And this will take in a question. So what this render question does, it's gonna change the question, this question thing, right? So cons question container. Actually, I don't really need that. So document get query selector. Question dot text contain equal to, again, we already know what's the format of question is, right? So this is the format of question. And just to be clear, we can leave it here so that if we need to refer back to it, we know what we're dealing with. Right, so this is a string. So I can say question.title. Then we're starting to add the choice container. And the reason why I do choice container instead of choice is because when I quickly look through here, I will say for answer. But more I get down here, I start to see two answer or something like that, right? So I want to be something more generic, and this is how I'm going to do. So first bit, I want to clear out everything inside of this, right? I don't want to have anything in it. And I don't actually know how to do it in JavaScript. I know how to do it in jQuery, but let's do a quick Google. So JavaScript clear children, right? So remove all children in DOM. Is there a function to do it? Remove child. I'm just gonna do this. Simple enough. Alright, so change question title. Right. Clear answer choice container. So we're gonna have choice container equal to, and this is our choice container. So choice container in our HTML, but then append new choice. Right, so now we're talking about this, right? So choice is this string, sorry, this array, and in this array will be an array of string. So what we can do is for index less than question dot choice. Again, this question has this format, right? So by looking at this format, I know exactly what I should expect in question. And because it says choice here, I can do question dot choices. And cap here is a choice. So let's create an element equal to document element. Just do a normal div. Text contain equal choice, and we're gonna do choice container dot append child choice. Right. So one more thing that I want you guys to see is why I access this directly, but then I have a variable on this one. Reason being that this thing I only use it once, right? I don't change anything else than the text container bit, so that's why I leave it there. But this thing I use it multiple times, right? So choice container, I need to clear it, I need to append a new child. That's when I put it on a variable, right? So the differences between them might not be too much. It's maybe like some millisecond, but if you're dealing with larger and larger things, this is something that you want to optimize it a bit, or just imagine that it's a good practice. It kind of make your code look cleaner though. Alright, so let's see this and then see whether it works. Right, so now we have a function that renders our question. We have a question. Now let's call the function. My question. What's the page? There you go. Alright. Failed to execute a bench child on node. Parameter 1 is not node. Okay, so we did something wrong. So let's go to here and have a look. Alright, so this is what I do, what I call a breakpoint, right? Not what I call everyone. This is a breakpoint. So a breakpoint is basically whenever the JavaScript runs to this point, it will stop and allow you to work through it. And you see it now. Right, so if I refresh, it will run up until this point and it will stop and wait for me to do whatever I want to do. So now my choice container, if I click on here, it will keep running, and now I can see what my choice container is. So this is my choice container. Did I do something wrong with it? No, it's still choice container. Okay. So I can see what my element is. So that. So choice container. Pen. I thought you do a pen child. Yeah. Oh, sorry, not choice. It should be element. So this should be element. Good. Cool. So we can unbreak it here and have it run. There we go. Ta-da! Cool, but this looks ugly. I don't like it. Let's create another function to, instead of render question, we're gonna render choice, and our input would be a choice, right? So this do a very simple thing. This will return us render is not correct. You get choice element, right? So this function will return us will return a DOM element contains the choice input, right? So const element equal document create element def, right? And we need to be able to select it, I believe. I think. Does it say anything about that? Actually, no, it doesn't. Sure then. Then yeah, I don't think I need this. I'm gonna ignore that. I'm just gonna quickly add a class to it. Classless add choice. Right. So if I look into this, I have a choice here. So I'm gonna quickly do some styling. Something here, some border radius, make it look a bit nicer. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go with this. So style, this is in quiz page. But so that's that. Do I want to put the, what do I want to put for this? Wait, oh, that's actually quite large. Let me do this, and maybe some margin to the top. So we got that, right? So now let's do the, actually with this I don't think you need that next button anymore, so I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to have this as cursor pointer so that we have that kind of pointer to allow you to see that we're clicking it. Okay, so now we have these 4 values, right? So what can we do? So for now, let's just do a clicking and see whether we answered correctly or not. Let's go with that. Alright, so and remember that because we render this programmatically, so what we want to do is we want to add an event listener to a click event, but not on this kind of element because we render it not on the first run. We're gonna keep changing it, deleting it, adding new things. So we want to add a click element on top of this. So choice container, right? So let's select it and add it. So choice container, right? So document query selector, choice container, add event listener, and again we want to listen to click, right? Have a function of what to do, and this function will have an event. So let's console log that event now. Alright, cool. Right, so now we have that event being console logged. So what we can do is we have look in here and we should be able to find something called target. Right, so target is here. We're not looking for current target, I believe. We're looking for target. Because if you click on between this, it's also fire. But the target would be the choice container. So we care if the target is, no, not is, has the class of choice. Right, so if you click on this, you will see that the target will have a class of choice. Sorry, this one. Right, so let's get it out. So, let's get it, right? So, const target equal to event current, not current target, right? And because we said that it's only correct if it has a class of choice, we need to know whether it has a class of choice. Can I search for an element and know whether it's a class of choice? Has. Okay, let's quickly do a Google on it. Alright, so this is jQuery. jQuery has this. But how do you do it on normal? Oh, contains. Okay. I'm gonna go with this. Alright. So we only care if our target class has choice in it, right? So that's when we know we are clicking on choice. Then let's just quickly do let's just quickly showcase what is the answer that we're clicking on, right? So console log target the text content, right? So if we refresh this, if we're clicking on this, it will show string. It show boolean, alert, numbers, but if you click in between, it should not show you anything, right? So that's how we can block the user from mistakenly click in between and then it register as the wrong answer. So now we got that. So we need to, when we got that, then we need to check whether the question is correct, right? And again, remember that this is the question. So my question is question 0. and this is my answer, right? So what we need is cons answer equal to, so this is the user answer, right? And this is the correct answer, right? And I see a lot of you guys doing something like this, right? So if answer equal to correct answer, this is totally correct. But when you guys dealing with a string, you should not do this, right? An equal should only, you guys should only use it when you guys compare number or boolean. If you guys search for how to compare string in JavaScript, there's another function that I would recommend you to use, which called local compare. This should be the better way to compare it. And you guys can read it. It more about localization in internalization and everything. The only thing that I care is the return value here. It will return 0 if two strings are equal, right? So I can do answer.locale compare of this equal to 0, right? So if answer and correct answer are the same, then I will do a quick console log to say you are correct, and else you are wrong. Yeah. Um, I would say more or less would be use case, because like you will run into a lot of situation when you want to not really compare it equal, but you run into cases when you want to compare which string is larger than another string. Like if you want to do a dictionary and you have a string say ASD, and have another string say DCE, something like this, and you want to compare to see which string actually being in front of each other. Triple equal will not help you in this case for sure, but local compare sure does. But regarding to whether you check they are totally the same, I do believe that both of them work in the same way. Uh, it's like if you want to compare both the string are the same, so not really a differences in usage. It's just a preference. No, no, not that I'm aware of. Alright, anyway, let's get back. Alright, so I know that this is alert because I look at the answer, but let's have a look. Okay, so this correct and that correct. Okay, so to whoever is creating this question, please do keep in mind that there's no s after string and there's no s after boolean and also there's no s after number. Okay. Huh. Alright. So now this is saying you're correct. Cool. Good. So now what do we do? We're gonna have so what's happening is we we compare it and then we show them the next question. That's how we do. So we have this and it's working fine, but we want it to be a bit more general. So we're gonna have something in here and say not const last current question index, right? And we start with 0 because we always start with this very first question. And here we say render question dot, right? So when I hit on it, what I want to do is I want to, regardless of whether I'm doing correctly or not, I'm gonna increase this and then I'm gonna render my question, right? This is what I want to do. When I click on any answer, I check whether I'm correct or not, then I'm adding 1 to the question index of the question array, which will, like, if I'm on the first question, it would push me to the second one, which is this. Then I render it out, and render it out meaning change the question title, clear the container, appending new choices, everything like that. Right, so let's run and see what happens. So everything's the same. This is the first one. Click on that. Cannot read that of the title. Okay, so we have an error here. So let's have a look and see what that is. Alright. Oh, I missed the bit here. Actually, if I have that bit there, then I don't want this. I will const question equal to that. Right. So I will have that. Right. So I click that. My question is not. Oh, because I don't have a question anymore. Okay, so I'm gonna copy that and actually need this and put it there. Right. So it's jumping. Cool. That's good. Wow, I got it all wrong. And see how even this has 2, it doesn't break anything, it's still running. So we are doing it in a very good way. It's flexible, right? Wow, this has so many. Alright, cool. And we got that again. Right, so you guys were seeing that if I do something, I have an error, I go back and I see what causing it, what lie is causing it. I go into it, I kind of trying to see what's happening. I put a breakpoint. That should be the process of how you guys debug in JavaScript. You guys will run into a problem. You guys will see that none of your page is working, but please don't panic or panic. Normally, I do panic, but that will be the way that you guys should follow up and trying to fix one by one. So just get one error, try to fix what happened to it, trying to understand what's causing it, trying to see what path of your code is running to that line, then fix that, then run again, then see what happened. Alright, so we got that running, right? So that's cool. So what I want to do now is I'm gonna say when I click on start quiz, this will go back to question 0 and the timer will go back to 60, right? So that's what I want. So let's have another one. Document, query selector. What's my button? Start quiz button. Event listener. And do believe me, if like next week after I got my hand on jQuery, I'm gonna do this way faster. My first thing when I learned JavaScript is that jQuery will help you guys a lot. Like when you deal with, like right now when I'm working, I hardly use jQuery, but jQuery is so good. Alright, regardless. So when I click on this, I want to set this back to 0, and I want to have the second set to 60, right? And because this is a lot to do, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write a function, and my function is quite simple. My function is gonna be reset quiz, right? And this function is gonna do 2 things: seconds equals 60 and current question index equals 0. This is what I'm gonna do, and because of that, I can remove this. So whenever I click start, I run that function. So after I reset quiz, I want to render question, right? Because I reset my quiz back to the default setting, then I render my question. But if I do this, then I don't want to render at the very beginning because there's no point of rendering at that time. Only when you click start quiz button, then it will render. Right? So let's see how that works. So this should be empty next time I refresh. Cool, empty. I click start quiz. This become none. that show up, right? I click on a lot of things. I click start quiz again. This should go back to 60, and this should go back to first question, which is something about does not include something. Cool. That's it. So we kind of do the start quiz thing, right? So let's start with something a bit funnier. Let's do this bit. Let's do this process request, right? We put it in, but we never use it. um, Again, if you guys do care about the role and area, you guys can Google it. It basically is just for the accessibility, and people are trying to raise the awareness of doing it in website. And but in my case, I never actually my website is not meant for those people, so I never actually care that much. But feel free to Google and learn about it. But I'm afraid that I don't actually know anything about it to talk to you guys. Alright, so progress bar. Right, so this is the bit where we want to change our width. Alright, so that's it. So when do we update it? Let's create another function. Update progress bar. And this will do things that very simple. We know what current question index is, right? We're gonna have a total questions number, which is equal to the number of questions that they have in here. So questions dot length. And remember that this would give us 22, I believe. Well, yeah, this would give us 22. And remember that because it starts at 0, right? So on the first one, actually thinking about it is kind of correct. Okay, now what I'm about to say. Alright, so upgrade progress bar. I need to know what is my progress so far, right? So progress so far is just basically what current question index divide by total question number. I'm just gonna round it. Okay, and I will get this progress bar. So document dot query selector, right? Access the CSS, so style dot width equal to progress. This 2 percentage, right? Yeah, percentage. Alright. So I'm gonna change the width of the progress bar based on how much progress we are having. And we're gonna call this whenever we render the question. Right, which is inside here is also gonna be fine. Alright, so I hit start. This is gonna go 0. Click start, go that. Okay, it doesn't change. Right, see why does it run. So we're gonna click on here. So I want to check whether it's run, right? So I had the breakpoint in there. I click on it and actually run. So what's my progress? 0%. This is 5, this is 22. Oh, because this is 5 divided by 22, if I've lowered it will become 0. I need to multiply it by 100. Alright, let's try again. There you go. Start. Cool. Well, whoever doing this has a lot of questions. Alright, so we're seeing how that works. What does this return? True. But this already returned true, so why do you boolean a true? Huh, this is a very weird question. But regardless, it's returned true. Cool. So now we got that bit done, right? So What's the next bit? The next bit is um, when you get to the end. Actually, let's do another one when you know how much question is correct and how much question is incorrect. Right, so let incorrect and let correct. Right, and we can have here incorrect equals 0 and correct equals 0. And here, instead of doing this, we gonna correct and incorrect. Right, so we're gonna have that. And let's do the last bit of what's that? Well, oh, the end page, right? So the result page. That's what we're gonna do. So on the result page, what on it? So let's do the all done and your score is something something, right? So I'm gonna have here all done. Your score is. I'm gonna leave it there. And we say render the question, right? Render the question, render the question, render the question. But now we start seeing that when this hit to 19, oh sorry, in this case 21, which is the last question, we don't want it. So when you are on the last question, this will become 22, right? On this one, if I stop it now, and if I click this should be the last question. If I click this now, right, then your current question is become 22, which is not the question doesn't have that. We only have 22 question and index 22 is actually outside of it, so we don't have that. So this one will fail, right? Because there's no more question to render. And in that case, we don't want to render question anymore. We want to stop. So let's put an if here. If we are finished, we are at the last question. So basically, if we are if the current index is larger than the total question number. Actually, I should do less than or equal here. If we still have the question, then we render it. Else, we should showcase the score, right? So render score, and so this one will do a very simple thing. I will have you happiness. Alright. So this one is do very simple. We're gonna change this. Let's contain to the number of correct question, and we're gonna change this into incorrect. Right, so that's it. We're just gonna do that. So let's start. So that's to ease this, I will move this back into, I think, 3 questions. This is too long. Alright, we have 3 questions. Right, so ignore this. The reason why we're seeing this is because we show all the page from the beginning, right? So we're seeing that. But start quiz. This, that, that. Can I read the title? Oh, sorry. This should not be unequal. The reason why it's doing that is because if you go in here and we refresh, so this is correct, we want to do the second question. This is correct, we want to do the third question. But this one, now our current index is equal to 3. And because we don't actually have question 4, we should stop now. But because I put the equal here, that's why it's still doing it. So I'm gonna remove the equal here. and run it again. Dot, dot, dot. Cool. My score is 1. I have missed 2 questions. Alright. So now we have that kind of thing ready. So what's the next thing that I want to do? The next thing that I want to do is, because now we have these 3 pages going on top of each other, right? So and again, at any time, any point of time, there should only be 1 page. This or that or this. So we gonna add a hidden class. So this is like carbon helper class. So we're gonna call it, when it's hidden, it's gonna display none. Right, and at the beginning, everything is hidden. Nothing show, right? And in here, I'm gonna have a function. Show page, and I put on what page do I want to show. And I have 3 pages, right? I have a start page, a quiz page, a result page, right? So page can be start page, quiz page, and result page. Okay, so what I can do is I can query selector, so first of all I need to make sure I need to hide all page, right? So that's how I do it from the beginning. I hide all the pages, then I show the page I want, and I do it by page, and I'm gonna remove the class. Okay, so in order to show 1 page, I hide all the other page and then I show the page I want. So at the beginning, I want to show the page, of but I'm just gonna make it a constant. So in here I can have, because using a string all over again is actually not a very good thing to do. Okay, so this quiz page and this is result page. Right, so at the beginning what I want to do is we want to show home page, right? Start page. Right. When the quiz click, I want to show what page? I want to show quiz page, right? And when I start rendering score, I want to show what page? When I render score, actually I can put it in render score. I want to show result page, right? And if I refresh now, I'm gonna see this. Click start, I show that. Click that, I show this. Cool. My score is 0. Alright, so that's how you kind of do single page application, right? Some later on when you learn about React has the old way of doing it, but for now this is a very simple way for you to do it. Alright, so What else am I missing? Oh yeah, let's show that bit. That bit is actually oh wait, let's just do the high score bit. Right, so high score. Um do I want to change the way that I calculate score? Uh, time. Some people actually plus the time, remaining time into it. I that's totally depend on you. I have no idea how people are grading my quiz, and honestly, I don't really care in this case. So I'm just gonna leave that. I'm just gonna keep doing the initial the saving high score bit. Right. So um, but put your name. Right, and in here you have an input. And this would be my name. Right. So for quick thing, I would just instead of at the beginning I show the what is it? At the beginning I show the start page, and at the beginning I'm just gonna show the result page so that I can quickly deal with it. Okay. So this is my thing. Right. I need a button right here too to submit it. So I'm gonna add a button. Right. So that's it. It look a bit ugly, but I'm just gonna ignore it for now. I can type something in here. When I click submit, it will save my score. Right. So when I click the button, so I want to have an ID here. Function. When I click on this, I want to know my name. So my name is what? My name is in this, right? And I have an ID here. So I'm gonna get that ID out. Query selector. And because it's an input, so I use value instead of text content. Alright, so now I got my name. I'm gonna get my score and see how on here. Imagine that this is how I want to calculate my score. And here already I want to get my score again. That is a duplication, so I'm just gonna make another function to get score. So get user score. And this function do a very simple thing. Like in this case, it's only care about returning this and that. And my cat is screaming at something, I'm not sure what. Alright. And here we're gonna change this into that. We code that. Alright. Now let's do a quick version of the leaderboard. We just let's show the leaderboard, right? Is that what they wanted to do? High scores. Well, instead of doing high score, let's do a funnier thing. Let's do a leaderboard. Right? So for now, we just care about adding people attempts into it before we do anything. Right? So let's create an attempt. Right? An attempt requiring a name and a score. So name and score. Oh yeah, and you guys can see this and don't quite understand what's happening. It's because in JavaScript, modern JavaScript, if you have a name and if your object key and the variable as a value are the same, you guys can omit it. So basically this is a short way of writing name and score. Exactly that. But because your value and your key has the same thing, has the same text, same word, you guys can omit that. And more or less that's the reason why I name it that way. Right, so I got that. Then I'm gonna check the local storage, right? So leaderboard equal I'm gonna go with local storage, get item, uh, const local storage key leaderboard. Did I write it wrong? I thought that's how you spell that word. Yeah, leaderboard. Right. Local storage key. Right. So if we do a local storage and we get something that doesn't have anything, it will return null, right? So we can check for it. You can say if leaderboard is equal to null, we now create our new leaderboard. So let's do a let here, and because yeah, sure, leaderboard equal to a new array, right? And if we already got something, and because you remember that if you want to save an array into local storage, you need to stringify it. So we're gonna parse it again. So JSON.parse leaderboard, right? So at this point, you will have more or less a leaderboard, either an empty array or a new array, but you have a leaderboard. So let's add a new attempt into it by using push attempt. Actually, on this one, I was just gonna shrink it to this. So I don't actually use those two things. But so after we have the new attempt into it, we can save it back. So local storage set item to local storage key. And remember, like when you save an array, right, you have to stringify local storage. Right, cool. Now let's go and try it out. So we go from home page to start page. Alright, refresh. Go to start page, start quiz, do that, do that, do that. 3. About 59 points. We submit, and if we check local storage now, it should have a leaderboard. And that's not really what I'm looking for. But let's see what's happening. So we go here and we hit submit. What is our leaderboard? Our leaderboard is that, right? So we pass it, which is okay. Okay. Now let's get to see what our attempt is. This is our attempt. We push it. Leaderboard is not a function. Okay, let's clear my local storage. When I do clear, my local storage now being empty. So let's try that. Alright, so what? Ha! Good, good question. Really good question. Yes, okay, leaderboard. Sorry guys. Thank Henry. Alright, cool. That's a very good question. Why? I don't know. Alright, so I should clear it again and it should work. Alright, refresh it. Start, run this, run that, run that. Let's history, submit, and if I go and look at local storage, I should have that. Cool. If I click it again, I should have another version of myself in there with the time going there, because the time is still going there. We're gonna take care of that later on, so that's it. Right, so now we got that. Now let's start the show high score. I'm just gonna do a couple more. So we got some more in there. Yeah, we got some more in there. Okay. So our does Bootstrap have some lists? There's something cool for the list. Sure, I guess. Alright, so we're gonna have a what page? Leaderboard page, right? And because it's hidden, so we need to add a class of hidden. Cool. We don't really need this, so I'm gonna remove this. And ID here, leaderboard. Item container. Items container. Alright. So, alright. So first of all, let's see how we can show that page, right? So in order to show the page, let's put it down here. So in order to show that page, we will select that show high score button, show leaderboard button. Okay, and we can add an event listener. But first of all, I need to add it here. I need to add a leaderboard page. Right, and it's equal to leaderboard. And if I hate to do it here, I need to add it here again, and it's a bit too much. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create an old page, which is an array, and I can just loop through it. So let's change for me. So in here, in order to do that, I can do a for loop of all pages, and I can have one of that in here, like that. Right, so that will hide all my pages. And so I just need to create a new constant and add it in here. Right. So first of all, I need to render my leaderboard, right? So in order to do that, I'm just going to create something like this. So first of all, I need to clear it, right? So this. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to clear whatever is inside it. Add new leaderboard item. Right, so this is where you get it. You get all the leaderboard item out, right? So let leaderboard. I'm gonna do exactly of this, but in order to do exactly of this is duplication. So I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna make another function. This might my logic in when I write a function is that if I see I have to rewrite my code, I'm just gonna copy it and make it another function. That's how I'm like justify it. Right, so I'm gonna let that. Then instead of doing this, I'm just gonna return it. And because this doesn't change anymore, I'm just gonna do a const right here. So leaderboard. That. Right, so now I have my leaderboard. For leaderboard. So remember what is in leaderboard. So in leaderboard, let's write something like this again for the leaderboard thing, right? So the leaderboard has it's an array, right? It's an so leaderboard is an array. In the array, there's an object with a name, 3, and a score, which is like 10, something like that, right? So this is our leaderboard item. Element is fine. Alright, so now let's create leaderboard. We call it a temp, right? So let's call it a temp. So let's create a new element equal to, and because we're trying to follow this, so I'm gonna create an li. We're gonna have a class called list group item, and the content, text content in it would be my name, right? So a temp.name with the score. Cool. Then I add it into my container. Okay, so this bit is to render the element, but then I need to throw the leaderboard page. Right, so if I click now and I click this, it's gonna show that. Cool, cool, very cool. Alright, but the thing is I cannot go back, so let's change that into something that I can go back. Actually, instead of saying that, let's change this into toggle. And let's show people that you can actually click on this. So this is nav. Alright. So what I mean when I say toggle. So toggle is when you are on some other page, you click on it, then it leads you to this page. If you're on this page, you click on it, it go back to whatever page you're on, right? So we're gonna add 2 new function. Sorry, it's not 2 new function. 2 new variable. Select is leaderboard open, and by default, because we know that we show the page on the start page, so it will be false. Leaderboard page open, and we're gonna have, actually I don't need this. I would have a previous page. The one of this. Alright, so previous page is my way of going back. So in the show pages, when I'm doing this, I will say if right. So if my page element classless contain hidden. So if my page doesn't contain the class hidden, it means that it's a current page and it will be like it will move to another page. So I'm gonna mark it. So previous page equal whatever page I'm on right now, right? So you know what, this is a bit too complicated. Huh. Alright, how do I do this? How do I do this? Alright, that's just previous page right here. That's be fine. But if I do this, how do I know which one is the other page? Alright, I'm taking this a bit too far. Right, ignore that bit. I will just, yeah, I'm just trying to play around with it, but just ignore that for now. Right, so I'm just gonna do a toggle when you show this page and you click here and it go back to the home page. That'll be way easier for me. So I'm gonna check whether my page, the leaderboard page is on. So I check that by getting this page, right? And see whether it's actually hidden. Because you know whether the leaderboard page is on is when it's actually being hidden or not. So I'm gonna check my leaderboard page to see where if it's being hidden. So in this case, if it is being hidden, then we do all of this. Else, we're just gonna show people back to start page. Alright, so I click on that, I click back, it go back. Alright, I'm just gonna go with that. Okay, you click on something. This will break a bit, but I'm just gonna ignore all of that bit. Alright, so what else? Okay, so one more thing that I want to do is you see how now if I add something, right, I say 32. My local storage is marking me right here 54 point, right? But on my leaderboard I'm not there, I'm down here. I should be up here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a quick short, and if you guys don't know how to do it then it's fine, but what we can do is on the leaderboard before you do anything you can do a short. Alright, and how you do the short, you can Google JavaScript array short, and the array has a very easy way to short. You short it by using a function. So there's a lot of different ways to short, right? So if you say just a short, it will try to do an alphabetically short, and there's a lot other way, but you can use a compare function to tell it which one is better. So in this case, I want to say put whoever has the highest score on top. So I'm going to do leaderboard short. And in short, I have attempt A and attempt B. And I want to have attempt A to go on top of attempt B. So if you look at here, here, right? So in this one, you are comparing A less than B, so A minus B. So if you do A minus B, it will return to ascending, because so if it's less than 0, if A minus B is less than 0, then A is before B. And in our case, we want the opposite way around, right? So we want When A is less than B, then A is after B. Uh, Actually, I've tried. Usually when I go to this point, I just try both way and see which one works. So we just try. If it doesn't work, then we do the other way. So refresh it. Leaderboard. Does it run that? Let's have a look here. Oh, do I need to punish? No. Alright, so toggle. I have my leaderboard. So what's my leaderboard? I have that, right? So attempt A and attempt B. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, what happens if I remove this? Alright, there you go. So now it's going backward, and if I want it, I want to B minus A. There you go. Alright, again, I honestly don't quite remember how the shorting worked, but I just testing it out and make sure it worked. So in this case, I short it and make sure that I got the score descending. Right, so this is my top one. Right, so yes. Explain a bit more. Um, so, so uh, no, so this shorting is, I believe, is what they, I believe, like the inbuilt shorting in JavaScript is what they call bubble short. What is the inbuilt short? I think it's using bubble short. I'm not sure which one is actually using. But there's you know that there's a bunch of different way to short, right? And it actually depending on your data. Some short is actually better than the other. And this is the very simple way of JavaScript to do the shorting. You can implement your own shorting function, not this kind of compare function. I mean this function, shorting function, and it will work in the way you want it. But in this case, I believe JavaScript running bubble short by default. I believe so. Don't mark my word for it. And I believe the way bubble short work is if you Google it, you will see it's an animation something. Sure. So it's gonna try to, yeah. So it's, I think it's doing something like this. I'm not quite sure that it's actually doing bubble short or insertion short. But that's how it's running. Yes, and again, the function, the on you can build your own short, right? There's no point in not doing that. But because most of the case you don't actually deal with a very large data that you require that specific thing. Usually we do that on the server side because you cannot depend on the client machine to be strong enough to run them. So normally on the front end side or in JavaScript to be specific, you only need to use this kind of shorting. Yes, correct. Yeah, here, there's a compare function. So if the result is negative, A is short before B, B is short before A. And like as I said, right, to this point, I actually sometimes just like get the pen and paper and see how I want to short them. I write it down and then I know what should I put in. But more or less, I would just guess something and I put it in, it doesn't work, or the opposite way around, and I flip them around. Like just exactly the way you do it. Yeah, I believe so. Alright, so uh, wait, I think that's all I show you guys. Anything that you guys want me to do that you guys don't know? Yes. Alright, alright. So you guys asked this question already in class, right? So let's do a quick yeah, no. I mean in the class you were there, you asking. Let's do a quick run here, right? Let's talk to each other. Actually, before we doing that, everyone else, I'm gonna stop the tutorial here. So anyone else has any question beside that let and const thing? That like anything that you want me to try and do it that you guys don't understand, or anything that I'm doing that is not quite sure yet. Because if not, then I'm gonna go to stop this. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it here first. One sec. So let and cons versus bar. Okay, sure. Shoot. Uh, I like a lot of uh, a lot of thing that I use is not. I don't actually build them. I use a third party thing. So what you are calling is, I think it's called wizard step. So what you can do is you can search the wizard steps. I think Bootstrap, if they even have it. No, they don't actually have it. They have a step or something like this, right? So usually I use something like this to um to do whatever they asking. There's just a bunch of JavaScript and CSS someone already written, so I just use it and use it for what I want to do. Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of name. There's a wizard step. There's a test stepper. Whatever. You just Google it and just maybe add a word of saying jQuery or JavaScript, and they will show you. All right, cool. Any other question? No? Yes? Yes? No? Anyone? Hello? Hi? No? Okay, so I'm gonna stop the tutorial now, but please do hang by and like we can talk about whatever. This just stops so that I can post this to YouTube. Alright, for the YouTube user, thank you for staying here with me for 1.5 hours and bye bye. See you next time.